Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be diving into a series of, well, pretty significant cyber incidents that have been hitting the headlines recently.
Yeah, they've definitely been hard to miss.
Exactly. We're looking at the big cyber attack on Marks and Spencer, and also some attempted breaches at Harrods and the Co-op here in the UK.
Right.
And then shifting focus a bit, there's this major data breach settlement over in the US involving a healthcare company, Enzo Biochem.
Mm-hmm. Quite a range of incidents.
Yeah, so the plan is really to unpack these events, understand, the impact they've had, and maybe figure out what it all means for us navigating our digital lives, whether that's just shopping online or, trusting companies with our data.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how they connect, isn't it? It's not just isolated incidents.
We're using reports from The Guardian, the US Sun, and the Scottish Sun to kind of guide us through it all.
Good sources. And yeah, you're right. It really points to a broader trend, a persistent threat landscape where these attacks are getting, well, more sophisticated.
Affecting all sorts of different sectors.
Exactly. By looking at the specifics of each one, we can kind of piece together that bigger picture of, modern cyber risk. For businesses, yes, but for individuals too.
Okay, so let's kick off with Marks and Spencer then. Here in the UK, it sounds like their Easter weekend was pretty chaotic.
To say the least.
The Guardian reported this unusual activity that then, well, it escalated fast into a full-blown cyber attack.
Mm. And that timing over a holiday weekend, that's often quite deliberate, isn't it?
You think they target those times specifically?
Sometimes, yeah. Attackers might gamble on, skeleton crews, slower response times. Makes sense.
Right, and the result, their website's been down for over a week now.
Still down. Wow.
Yeah, and there's talk that getting everything back up and running properly could take, well, maybe weeks, even months.
That really tells you something about how deep the problem goes. A week offline is huge for a retailer like M&S.
And it wasn't just the website, was it? The knock-on effects seem pretty widespread.
Oh, absolutely.
We're hearing about disruptions to their automated stock systems, which meant staff were actually manually checking fridge temperature.
Manual checks.
Yeah.
In this day and age, yeah, that's basic, but absolutely critical. Shows how much they rely on those automated systems.
Totally. And they couldn't do online orders, obviously. Some food deliveries via Ocado were paused. Even the Sparks loyalty scheme was hit.
It just shows how everything's connected in these big operations. That digital backbone, when it gets broken.
It causes chaos everywhere.
Precisely. Supply chain, customer loyalty, basic monitoring. It all relies on that IT infrastructure working smoothly.
And the financial cost must be, well, enormous.
Oh, definitely.
Millions lost daily, apparently. And their company value has dropped, what, nearly 750 million since Easter?
That's a huge number. Really puts the potential cost of these attacks into sharp focus.
Yeah, and analysts are talking about a big dent in their annual profits, something like 30 million initial hit,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe 15 million pound for every week it continues.
It's not just the immediate cleanup cost, is it? It's lost sales, reputational damage, maybe even investor confidence shaking a bit.
Insurance might cover some of it, I guess?
Yeah, the reports mention insurance likely covering a portion of the initial losses, but it rarely covers everything, and certainly not the long-term impact or the hassle factor.
And what about us, the shoppers? We've felt it too, right?
For sure.
Reports of clothing shortages, like really limited sizes in stores, gaps on the grocery shelves too, biscuits, cleaning stuff, even tea mentioned.
Yeah, everyday items.
And staff couldn't even check if another store had something in stock because the systems were down.
That's a fundamental breakdown, isn't it? Back to basics, almost.
It is. Though interestingly, some customers were apparently quite understanding. One person was quoted saying they went to shop in person specifically to support them.
That's quite something. Shows the goodwill M&S has built up, I suppose.
Yeah, positive reviews for staff resilience, apparently. But I imagine it was incredibly frustrating for many shoppers, too.
Oh, I'm sure. But that customer loyalty angle is interesting. Still, that inability for staff to do basic checks, that's a major operational failure caused directly by the attack.
We also heard from staff online talking about having to throw away food because they couldn't do price reductions.
Ah, that's a real shame. Food waste.
Yeah. Though apparently food donations have started up again now, which is good. One employee said something like, it's easier to list what works than what doesn't.
Oof. That really paints a picture of the internal chaos, doesn't it? Those first-hand accounts are valuable.
Definitely gives you a sense of the scale.
And the food waste thing? It's a sad consequence, but understandable when your pricing and inventory systems just stop working.
So where are things now? The authorities are involved, right? And the Met Police, National Crime Agency?
Yes, standard procedure for major incidents like this. They're taking it very seriously.
And they've linked it, reportedly, to a hacking group called Scattered Spider.
That name has come up. Known group. Specific tactics often.
And the malware might be something called Dragon Force, which works on a ransomware for hire basis.
Yeah, that model is becoming more common. Essentially, groups develop the nasty software, the ransomware.
And then lease it out to others.
Exactly. Lowers the barrier for criminals to launch these attacks. They split the profits. It's a business model, unfortunately.
Jim, one bit of perhaps slightly better news so far: no confirmation that M&S customer data was compromised.
That's a crucial point. A data breach on top of the operational chaos would be exponentially worse, legally and reputationally. So fingers crossed that holds true.
Experts seem fairly optimistic about M&S bouncing back, though.
Yeah, the analysts seem to think the brand is strong enough. Good customer feeling, solid underlying performance before this happened.
So probably no lasting damage to the brand itself.
That seems to be the consensus. Plus, as we said, insurance should cushion some of the financial blow initially. A strong brand can weather storms like this better than others.
Okay. But M&S wasn't alone, was it? Around the same sort of time, Harrods and the Co-op had issues too.
That's right, yeah. Bit of a cluster.
Harrods had an attempted unauthorized access, it seems.
Someone try and get into some of their IT systems?
But their security team jumped on it, restricted internet access, took proactive steps.
Exactly. Sounds like a good example of effective monitoring and a quick incident response.
And importantly, their shops stayed open. Online shopping kept working.
Yeah, which suggests they contained it well before it caused major disruption. They haven't asked customers to do anything either.
So a potential crisis averted there, it seems.
Looks that way. A good defensive play by their security team.
And the Co-op, also an attempted hack.
Yes. Similar story in that it was an attempt. They proactively shut down some IT systems as a precaution.
Okay, so that affected some back office things. Call centers, virtual desktops for staff.
That's the report, yeah. Internal disruption, but again, crucially, no sign that customer data was hit.
And their stores, deliveries, even the funeral homes kept operating.
Seems so. They emphasized that core services were unaffected. Again, proactive steps to keep things safe.
It really does feel like a pattern, doesn't it? All happening around the same time.
It does. And the National Cybersecurity Center, the NCSC, they picked up on this.
They issued a wake-up call, didn't they? Sharing lessons from the M&S attack with other UK businesses.
Yes, which is exactly what should happen. Sharing intelligence is key.
And they noted something interesting. Both M&S and the Co-op use the same software system, SAP.
That's a significant detail. Doesn't necessarily mean SAP itself was flawed, but it could point to maybe common ways it's configured or managed, or perhaps it was just a target platform for this particular group.
And that group, Scattered Spider, they're known for using social engineering to get around things like multi-factor authentication.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Social engineering is about manipulating people, not just code.
So tricking staff into giving up codes or access.
Exactly. Impersonating IT support, sending convincing phishing emails, ways to bypass technical defenses by targeting the human element. MFA is great. Add security layers.
But it's not foolproof if someone can be tricked into helping the attacker.
Precisely. It highlights that tech security needs to go hand in hand with user awareness and training. People are often the first line of defense, or, unfortunately, the weakest link.
Okay, right. Let's switch focus now over to the U.S. and this Enzo Biochem settlement.
A different angle on cyber risk, the aftermath.
Yeah. So they've agreed to pay $7.5 million to settle a class action lawsuit. This follows a data breach they had back in 2023.
A significant sum. And this was healthcare data.
Yes, sensitive patient information was compromised. The lawsuit basically said Enzo Biochem didn't have, reasonable cybersecurity measures in place.
Which is a common allegation in these cases. Failure to meet a duty of care to protect data.
And the victims, the people whose data was exposed, they claimed damages. Risk of identity theft, fraud, that sort of thing.
Standard claims in data breach cases, yeah. The potential future harm is often a key part of the damages argument.
Now, Enzo Biochem, they haven't admitted they did anything wrong as part of the deal.
Pretty typical in settlements. Avoids admitting liability.
But they are paying the money, And they're agreeing to beef up their security. Things like better multi-factor authentication, using encryption, improving their intrusion detection.
So practical steps to prevent it happening again, alongside the financial compensation. That's often part of these agreements. Good for future patients, hopefully.
And who can claim? Anyone who got a notice in the mail saying their data may have been compromised?
Seems so. That mailed notice is the key trigger for eligibility.
And apparently, just to get a basic share of the money, you don't even need extra paperwork. Just file a claim.
That's quite user-friendly, actually. Often these things require jumping through hoops. Making it simple likely encourages more people affected to actually claim their share.
Right, but if you can show you actually lost money because of the breach, like fraudulent charges showed up, or you had costs sorting out identity theft,
Then you can claim more.
yeah, up to $10,000. But for that, you do need proof. Bank statements, receipts, police reports, things like that.
Makes sense. Documented losses get specific compensation, while everyone affected gets a share of the general fund, plus other benefits.
What other benefits?
Well, it says all class members get 2 years of free credit monitoring and identity theft insurance.
Oh, okay. That's quite standard, but useful. Helps people keep an eye out for any misuse of their data down the line.
Exactly. It provides a safety net beyond just the cash payment.
So, important dates for anyone affected. The deadline to file a claim is June 23rd, 2025.
Still some time, though.
Yeah. And there's a website, enzodatasettlement.com. Worth checking out if you think you might have been part of this.
Definitely. Don't ignore those notices if you get one.
What struck me was that the article mentioning this from the U.S. Sun also listed other recent settlements like Christie's Auction House, the DC Health Benefit Exchange, some cardiology clinics, a senior living chain.
Wow. Yeah. Across different sectors again.
It really feels like these breaches and the lawsuits that follow are just becoming, well, more common.
It certainly seems that way. It points to, one, attackers are getting better or trying harder across the board, and two, people are more aware of their data rights and more willing to pursue legal action when breaches happen.
And companies might be finding it's just, I don't know, cheaper or easier to settle.
Often, yes. Prolonged court battles can be incredibly expensive and generate ongoing negative publicity. Settling allows them to resolve it, agree to security upgrades, and try to move on. It's a growing cost of doing business in the digital age, sadly.
So putting it all together then, M&S, Harrods, Co-op, Enzo Biochem, it really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It really does. You see the immediate operational chaos from an attack like at M&S.
Yeah, the financial hit, the disruption for customers.
Then you see the attempted breaches, showing constant vigilance is needed.
Like at Harrods and Co-op.
And then the long tail of consequences when data is compromised, like the Enzo settlement, legal costs, compensation, mandated security upgrades.
It underlines how vital cybersecurity is, not just as an IT issue, but as a core business function.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It hits operations, finance, reputation, customer trust, everything. And the legal and regulatory pressure is only increasing. Companies are being held more accountable.
So, final thought then for everyone listening. In this world where we're all, increasingly online, what practical steps can you take beyond just like having a strong password, which we all know we should do?
Yeah, it's more than that now, isn't it?
It feels like it. It's about being aware, maybe,
Yeah.
understanding the risks with the services you use,
Yep.
paying attention if you get one of those data breach notices.
Definitely. Don't just ignore them. Understand what happened, what data was involved, and what remedies are being offered, like that credit monitoring.
Yeah, knowing your rights, knowing what steps you can take if your data is compromised. It's about being a more, informed digital citizen.
Exactly. Proactive and informed.
Mhm.
Understanding the risks, but also knowing how to respond when things inevitably sometimes go wrong.